This is the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent Cortines. We are suffering through a Man United potential league chase. We are seeing the destruction of Liverpool, and we are seeing the rise of the Phoenix that is Manchester City. But first, we have to check in on my favorite team and Mike's favorite team, Spurs versus Leeds. Let's get right to it. What do you got for me? Bielsa, Mourinho, fight to the death. Blood on the tracks.
It was so funny to see people hate Mourinho so much that like Bielsa's team was losing 3-0 down. They had their chances, right? But they're so great. They're so much fun to watch. They're wonderful. Oh my God, look at them play attacking football. It's like, dude, they're getting slaughtered. They're getting fucking crushed.
I know.
But they're so attractive.
It doesn't matter.
Lovely.
They're so fun.
That fucking broadcast made me dislike Leeds a little bit for the first time ever.
Yeah. No, I think there is a fawning because they're different. So I think one of the narratives
they're stubborn. That's why.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is like Leeds was playing two wingers at fullback, fullback at center back, and their fourth string center back.
Yeah. It was like a 12-year-old playing FIFA, just like, fuck defense.
Yeah. You know what though? I watched the first half, and once Spurs had their 3 goals, I was like, they're not coming back. But they never gave up. They kept trying to fight. Yeah. They kept trying to score. And I'm going to die on this mountain. Patrick Bamford is terrible. If they had a real striker, he'd have 20 goals.
If they had a goal for every time he had a wry smile, they might be top of the league.
It's just his middle class fucking preppy murderer face that I can't fucking stand that guy. Like that guy definitely fucked someone's girlfriend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And didn't feel bad.
So the window's open now, and we actually haven't even thought about that as a topic to discuss, which we should. But
yeah.
Do we see Leeds as a team that's going to go out and get a guy to be in the middle? We obviously know Wolves are going to be in that hunt.
They need a defender. Oh my God. They need a real defender.
They need like 4 of them. But yeah, I mean, like for all of the attacking talent that they have going forward, do they pull a Chelsea and just kind of just keep buying attacking talent, even though that's
they could. But I think we should probably, I had the intro and I wanted to go straight to our favorite team, but we actually have a few headlines. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go Southampton 1-0? Southampton 1, Liverpool 0?
I think you have to start there.
Yeah.
Because it sets everything else up, right?
Yeah.
So
because they're the top of the league.
Hot off the presses, just ended a few minutes ago. Yeah, I mean, an early goal. I didn't even turn it on yet. An early goal,
dude. It was still a good finish.
A shitty foul, right? Shitty foul by who is it? Thiago.
Yeah.
That's up the. I mean, James Ward-Prowse is going to put it anywhere you want, but Trent Alexander-Arnold sort of is in a tough position because he's between like two guys.
Set the record for giveaways in a game.
Yeah. He had a rough afternoon, and it started early, right? Like he sort of felt like he's like, I have to cover Walcott and Ings. What the fuck am I going to do? Where's my help? And then all of a sudden he covers basically neither of them. And Danny Ings, what in the world with that finish?
Was filthy.
Now
it
reminded me of Vardy at Liverpool.
No, that was from 40 yards away.
Way further away. But it was similar in the trajectory.
Now, I think the thing to bring up is Liverpool still don't have defenders. I think Klopp is starting not to trust his youngsters. So Henderson played in defense. Thiago was in the midfield. And I feel like he had a little bit of a hard time. I mean, he was making some passes, but Liverpool were blunt. They had 1 shot on target. Mm-hmm. And your boy Walker Peters, who you thought was crap, is still watch
He's
this.
Getting there. He's getting there.
He went to war with Mane and did well. Like
he did
I think
well.
I think Mane is now the measuring stick. If you have a good defender, can he go toe to toe with Mane? Right. The way that Aurier did when you guys should have beat Liverpool. Aurier went to war with. It was a different performance, but still the same. Like it's Mane who makes that team run. I feel like Salah gets a lot of plaudits, but he disappeared in that game.
Salah's the finisher, right? Like, that's why he gets what he gets.
Firmino does, and Firmino is stitching the whole thing together. But still, I mean, Liverpool blunt. They had a 1-1 draw where they really battered Newcastle, which you can write off. You go, okay, the draws are here, but they're not getting the luck and getting the wins. They're more like the They're not getting the breaks. I mean, they're not having defensive problems, Liverpool.
No.
They're having
So,
problems scoring the
let's go
same way
back.
that City have been having problems scoring.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to the 13th. They on the 6th, they have a great 4-0 win over Wolves, who were sort of dilapidated at that point. Fine. They drop points at Craven Cottage 1-1.
That was bad.
They squeak by Spurs in a game they probably should not have won.
No.
Maybe not lost, but they probably shouldn't have won that game. They
Right.
get the voodoo devil bullshit bounce.
Yeah.
On the 94th minute, they win that game. Fine.
Yeah.
There it is, right? The next game, they absolutely shit pump Palace. They beat them 7-0, right? That's that
Right.
game. You go, oh great, Liverpool's back, blah 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 blah. And then
they can't win on the road.
Or at home, 1-1 against West Brom at Anfield, the Allardyce special. Away to Newcastle, 0-0. And then today they drop a 1-0, right? So they're still
probably the best team in the league.
I disagree, and we could talk about who I think the best team in the league are.
You think it's my team?
I think it is Manchester City. It's
a good segue. City played Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea was a little bit in crisis. That crisis button is floating. It's going everywhere. Yeah. Who's next? It's like a ghost that just goes everywhere. It's like,
hopefully it stays in Chelsea for a little while.
Yeah. And, I thought Chelsea played the lineup that everybody wanted to see, right? Everybody wanted to see Ziyech with Werner in the middle and Pulisic. They wanted it with Conte and Mount. I mean, Mount, people are a little bit annoyed with Mount and Kovacic. Yeah. Everything was there except for Reece James, and City weathered the first 15 minutes. I thought that Chelsea came out and really put City under pressure. I mean,
sure.
The difference now is that City doesn't wilt. They're just like, what? Bring it. I got this. So they defended really well. I think that's an underrated part. And the narrative, like we talked about, is just, oh, they kicked the shit out of them. No. Chelsea came, threw a few haymakers. City were like, okay, we got this. Let's figure out what we're going to do. De Bruyne breaks in. You think the goal's going in. Then you're like, oh, fuck, they're on this problem again. Then the City's like, oh, these guys don't know what's happening. And boom, then they just fucking lit them up, right?
Well, look,
then the ball started moving everywhere. And then the goal started going in.
It's Phil Foden, man.
Yeah.
They need to play him more. I've always been a huge Phil Foden fan, but
the thing is, do you watch the games when he plays and sometimes nothing happens?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but like honestly, how unfair is it to him that he's playing against the third best team in the fucking Champions League group or the ninth division FA Cup opponent, right?
Yeah, you need time to bet in. Yeah, I agree. I think that he has the thing. I think, some Pep, I don't know what Pep's I'd love to know what Pep's issue is, right? On why he doesn't play him. Is it because so as a City fan, I have got a couple of things. One, I don't think he complains. I don't think he goes to Pep and says, play me, like he does every day. Like goes in there and goes, I need to play, right? He's not being a dick. He seems like a good guy, right? Yeah. And I think like guys like Mahrez are, right? Mahrez is like, oh yeah, hey Pep, this is bullshit. I didn't come here for this bullshit. I want to play. Bernardo seems like that's mostly the team is filled with good guys, right? So if you're not squeaky, you're just not going to play. You got to be a pain in the ass, right? He's not just going to pick you because you can play, because they all can play.
Well, and if there was anybody in that room who can't really say anything, it's Phil Foden, right? He's still the kid. He hasn't accomplished that much relative to a Sterling, a Mahrez.
Sterling is just like, he's trusted, right? Even if he's not finishing, he just does stuff.
Yeah, he's creating.
Yeah.
Right. So
he runs, he does this, he does that. And City were all over the place. We got good Bernardo Silva. We got amazing Gundogan. Yeah. Rodri didn't hurt the team. He still turns like a fucking battleship. But they ticked over. I didn't see any problem with any of the game. I mean, when City play well and they have Zinchenko in, you're like, well, they really kicked the shit out of this team.
Right. Exactly. That's kind of my thinking too, right? Like, I mean, Cancelo with another great performance, but it wasn't even needed. He didn't. No, it wasn't. But you're missing 5 guys, maybe 6, including Ederson, which, by the way, Stefan, we got to talk about this for a second.
He almost fucked that up.
Was indirect free kick the correct call? It was in the
Yes,
box.
on a pickup. It is. Yeah.
It
No,
is.
it was outside.
No, it was a fucking 1,000%
Oh no,
inside
it
the
was
box.
in the box, but it's a back pass.
Yeah. No, I get
A
that.
back pass is indirect free kick.
But so then I guess Chelsea moved it outside the box.
I don't know what they they fudged the move. Like, it's not the fucking. What I like about the ball in soccer is it's accuracy, not precision. It doesn't have to, like, if you ever watch where the throw-ins are, they're never even close to
yeah.
Like, who cares? Right? That's why it gets so frustrating with offside. It's like the game was designed to be played for fun, right? Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I get that.
Anyway, so but then City just really turned up the gears. I don't even remember who scored. It was Gundogan's first goal was
Gundogan from Foden.
Foden from Foden.
I believe
Foden
De Bruyne.
From De Bruyne, right? That was an amazing finish.
Oh, fantastic.
And then De Bruyne on the worst solo break I've ever seen by any player ever. Raheem Sterling is alone with the goalkeeper with a little tiny black dog behind him in the form of N'Golo Kante, who fucked something up. That was a headed ball, I believe, by De Bruyne straight to Sterling, and he spins around the goalkeeper. He doesn't know what he's doing. He gets the shot, and then luckily the bounce goes off the post.
Yeah.
And Foden was there. Foden is always first down the pitch. And then De Bruyne put it home, but he missed. De Bruyne has been missing a lot. So that was his first
a sitter in this game. It could have been 5-0 at halftime. One thing I want to highlight about the third goal, though, that to me is 100% Frank Lampard's fault, right? It's 2-0. You where are we in the game? Like 35th or so minute?
35th minute, yes.
You put everybody up front in the box, like almost as if it's like a last second equalizer, right? Nobody back. Fucking literally nobody. You had
just Kante.
No, Conte sort of. Conte was there was nobody even close to the halfway line.
Correct.
Which is why Sterling just needed a 10-yard header, and he's like, "Oh, I have a 60-yard breakaway now."
Yeah.
Like, so for me, that goal
and
is
where
on
were,
Lampard.
and where was Chelsea? Like, the defenders never showed up.
They were in the box. That's what I mean. So Lampard tried to get cute there and try to nick one back, and it backfired extremely. So Lampard really ended the game. How many times have we seen in this league this year, goals, a 2-0 deficit gets disappeared in the second half? I mean, United's done
not with City anymore.
Not with City anymore. Fine, but like, is that point in the game really worth that amount of risk right there? Now, obviously, when you do that, you don't think that it's going to smack you back in the face, but it did.
I think the other big thing was there was like a mass disorganization in the back line of Chelsea. It's like Thiago's there, Azpilicueta's there, and City are just moving. They had no striker. They're just moving guys around, and they just marked nothing. Just like, it was weird to see that, City can be locked up. I mean, it can be done. Like, you just spend a couple minutes and get your shape, but it seemed they just didn't know, like, Chelsea didn't know what to do, and they just got smoked. And the second half, it really petered out, but Chelsea just stopped doing anything. Nothing.
Well, and then Callum Hudson-Odoi came on. And by the way, I get that there's a lot of talent in those, contention for those spots. He's as good as anybody.
They're all good. They're all really good.
I know, but
so that's kind of the problem is they're all the same.
Right. And that's kind of Lampard's problem, right? Like,
yeah.
You always say that this is a good problem to have. I don't know that it is for him.
It's not always a good, not for him. Right.
No, but he's sitting here on January 4th. He has no fucking clue what his best 11 is.
Yeah. And speaking of teams with best 11s, we have to go and talk about the team we don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about Manchester United being top of the league.
Well, I want to talk about it. I'm not happy about it, but
I'm not happy about it. But this was a good performance from United, and they have been stringing together good performance. And this is probably the first game against somebody that you were like, oh shit, okay, this is a real game. And Villa gave it to them pretty hard. They were not fucking around. It was a little bit of a mistake for Martial's goal, and then shockingly, Fernandes got a penalty. I don't know how these things happen.
Never happens.
Never. But they were clear. I think one thing that's different for United that I like is Bailly coming in for Lindelof. Lindelof was always a little bit more of a finesse defender, if you want to build. In hockey terminology, if we think about the old way, he was a European defender.
He's Swedish. Perfect.
Right? He was more of a mover of the puck rather than a rather than that's not true anymore, but it used to be. And he gives them a little bit more bite in the back. And with Fred and McTominay, and then they do the 3 across with Rashford, Fernandes, and Pogba. Pogba doesn't have to defend. They don't have that weakness anymore. So I think what United have done now is they found the balance, right? Martial is the 9. That's where you should go. If he's weak, then Cavani goes there. They're giving up on Greenwood. Greenwood was a flash in the pan. He had this wonderful 10 goals last season. Rashford goes there, okay? He's the best player. Pogba has worked his way back into the team, and then Fernandes is just a machine, and they basically are doing what smart teams do, and that's, we have the best player in the league. Let's make the whole team run around him. Yep. And I think teams don't do that enough. They're just like, no, there's ways to do this. This is how you do it. You make him the number 10. He has to do nothing except be himself, and he's free. If he wants to go take a piss on the side of the fucking pitch for a while and smoke a cigarette and come back, we're ready. Just whenever you're ready, you're here. Like, you're free.
I think obviously he has been literally for a year now, because he came in January last year, by far the best player in the league, right?
But I mean, he's 15 and 15. That's fucking crazy.
With that said, adding Pogba to that midfield has sort of given him another gear, or it gives them another gear. But it allows him to sustain the freedom that he sort of enjoyed for the most part of, at least through the end of last year and the early part of this year, because there were some games where somebody sat on him, like we've seen happen with De Bruyne, we've seen happen with Kane, where he disappeared, right? And obviously he would still show up in the form of a penalty,
right? It gives you a world-class player. Like the goal that they scored from Martial, 3 moves before, Pogba worked back on defense, steals the ball off someone, pops it over himself, and then passes it out to Wan-Bissaka, who takes off. Exactly. And then the cross a good cross from Wan-Bissaka. Shocking. Like, they scored a goal because Wan-Bissaka made a cross. Right. That wasn't terrible. I mean, that's really right now United's big weaknesses are their fullbacks they're not modern. They're some other.
I think Shaw gets a bad rap. I think he's had a pretty solid year, all things considered. But Wan-Bissaka certainly is not your modern fullback, right?
No. But if they had one, they'd be fucking unstoppable.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of where you've seen, right? To use another American sports analogy, if a baseball player has like a hitter has like an amazing 6 to 8 weeks, and then the league sort of like catches up to him, figures out his tendencies, how to pitch to him, and then he sort of reemerges, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of what I've seen with Bruno. Now, obviously the middle
I see
part
what you're
was
saying.
Extremely
he's making the adjustment to the adjustment.
Pogba is the adjustment to the adjustment, essentially, right? Because that's allowing him the freedom to keep doing the shit he's been doing.
It's unfair also to give Villa short shrift. Grealish, incredible again. They didn't get on the ball as much again, but Grealish is basically their Fernandes, right? He's there. He's right there. He's like what did I hear? Maybe you said this. He's Eden Hazard. He's that good. Like,
no, I think you said it.
Yeah. He just makes the whole thing work, right? Like, these teams that are just doing it the old way, they're non-systemic. They're just like, oh, this guy's incredible. Yeah. Give him the ball. Like, all you do,
and that's another team.
Everything just goes to him.
Right. Well, that's exactly what we were saying about Fernandes. 2 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing for Villa. Everything flows through him, and the best part about that is that Anwar El Ghazi and Bertrand Traore, on the wings,
playing well.
Forget for a second about Ollie Watkins, and you shouldn't, because we'll get to him in a second. But those wingers have been scoring at will.
They're good.
And they're creating all of these problems because you have to attend so much energy to Grealish and to Watkins.
Well, they're also giving Grealish space because they're a problem. So all of a sudden you can't just double mark, right? Well, they figured that out.
Right. So now it's kind of a.
So I think one of the things that I think about with this league, and I heard this stat on the broadcast today, Liverpool have the lowest points at this time of the year for any team leading the league since 2001.
Wow, 20 years.
Yeah. So that says to me the middle of this league is good, right? And that takes us to Southampton, just pulled off something really good. Aston Villa just pulled off something really good. Arsenal are supposed to be a top team. They're getting better. They're in the middle of they're in the middle of the juice. You got
You got
Wolves.
Wolves though.
Wolves are a little bit down, but the center of this league, the middle class, if you will, the mid-table is strong, right? Leeds is a fucking promoted team. That makes it hard. And now, to be fair, does Sheffield having 1 point make it look good? Because it basically their 10 points has gone into the middle of the league somewhere, right?
Right.
And then Brighton, who I'm falling out of love with, that's a team that plays and gives people a hard time, and they're in the relegation zone basically.
Yeah.
And then Fulham, who we have this COVID crisis, they haven't played for two games. They're tough as fuck. They turned it around. They look like fodder, and now they're taking points off people. And then the last one is like Burnley, who's just like a motherfucker team.
Well, you haven't even mentioned two teams that I didn't watch this game. It was on Friday, but Everton and West Ham are two of the middle class, if you will, this year, right? Like,
yeah, all the teams are good. Like, it's tough.
Crazy. Yeah. Everton is basically the same team they've always been, but they've just had a sexier start to the season.
They lost all their players is the thing, right? They lost their fullbacks. They lost Digne, who I just watched the video, is like, if you were to make a team out of the best players not in the top six traditional TM traditional top six, Digne would be the left back.
Like, I think that's fair.
He's that good. And you would even say Pereira on Leicester if he was around. And we didn't even talk about Leicester. But they now just fight. They're playing with three defense. But I watched this game, and West Ham just got their goal late. It was just gnarly.
Suchek, right? I did see the end of
just
the goal.
A fucking smash and grab kind of game, which is fine. Sometimes games are like that. The best game, weirdly, was the Brighton Wolves game. Tale of two halves.
Oh my God, wild.
Wolves all over Brighton. Dan Burn has almost has the fucking golden sombrero of
somebody check on Dan Burn.
Yeah, he's not well.
He might be on the train tracks somewhere.
Yeah. He had an own goal. He gave up a penalty, and he had one, and he gave up a free kick that led to a goal.
And had a yellow card.
Yeah, if he had been sent off, he would have gotten the super. And and it's not fair. I mean, he's 6'6" playing left back, trying to guard Traore. So he had a hard time. But they came back, and they were much, much, much better in the second half than Wolves. These are two teams, again, both need a striker. They have identities. They're both frustrating. We're seeing with Wolves are kind of in transition. They've lost Jimenez, who's their focal point, would score their goals. And now you would see it. You'd watch the game. They'd get someone to the byline, and you're like, whoa, there's nobody in the box.
Yeah, so, what's going to happen now?
So and then the last one, I don't know where Bali is, unless he's injured. I think he's lost.
He might be. I couldn't tell you. But so going back to losing Jimenez, right? We talked a little bit about this on the Twitterverse. Diego Costa is basically angling for a move outside of Madrid, and
he got bought out. So he's a free agent. He's free.
Oh, he is a free agent. I didn't know that part. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was still under the impression that there was a clause in the buyout, though, that like if he goes to Chelsea, then it's a whole thing, and he has to forfeit like a shit ton of money. So keeping it as if they would need him, right? But I think there's why wouldn't we have a conversation if I'm Wolves about bringing Diego Costa onto my team?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It all depends on when Jimenez is coming back. He fits in. He speaks Portuguese.
That was a gruesome injury, and I saw it happen to Ryan Mason a few years ago. His fucking career ended. So I wouldn't.
Your head gets cracked open. It's usually a problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't be optimistic about Raul Jimenez, who, by the way, plays the game with his head like a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Right? Yeah. So like, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna be healthy enough to like not throw up from my clear and present like very severe concussion.
Also, mentally, does he have PTSD? Has he never wanted head?
100% would. Ever. 100% will.
It's like getting
There's
drilled.
no way he's going to be the same player.
Right. Like it's like getting drilled, right? If you never come back.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not going to be back if he's at all on the field. He's not going to be anywhere close to what he was this season, hopefully early next season. So they're going to need a replacement sooner rather than later.
I think the last thing we've got Leicester plugging away. You know, we're not giving them the credit they deserve. They're in third, 1 point behind the leaders. The
They're
thing
a
is,
really, really good team.
I don't trust them. They beat City, I know, but when they played Liverpool, they just showed up like a bunch of punks and got lit up. So I don't trust them in a big game yet. Wilfred Ndidi, again, makes the difference. If you go through their record, whenever they lose or look bad, it's because Wilfred Ndidi is not playing. So as long as they have that holding midfielder, their Conte, they'll be fine. And then, you know, the Vardy issue is the Vardy issue. They don't have a Son, you know, and Kane combo. They just have Vardy.
See, I sort of disagree. I think that not to say that they have a Son and a Kane. I think Harvey Barnes, Tielemans, Madison around Vardy is
one
more
of them.
of a
One of them can pop. Yeah.
Sure, but I think more of a supporting cast than just Mahrez on that team. Now, keep in mind, that was probably the worst year collectively for the Premier League. I'm not belittling anything that they did with that title win.
Recent memory, yeah.
In recent memory, it was the weakest league, right? Yeah. Everybody had a down year, and that's what allowed Leicester and almost Spurs to kind of go for the title.
Yeah.
So in that context, in one of the strongest years that we've seen, top to bottom, it stands to reason that I would say that this Leicester team is better than the champion team.
Oh, I think there have been the last two, the Rodgers version of Leicester is better than the team that won. Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I'd agree with that.
Because that was by the way, one thing I noticed was one of my favorite goalkeepers was back today. From back in the day, Fraser Foster played for Southampton, which was weird. That motherfucker is agricultural. He did not play one ball out from the back. If the ball went back to him, he hoofed it.
He just punted it. Yep.
Every single one. Like, not like I noticed it. I noticed it because there's so much playing out from the back. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah. He
was just not fucking around. I don't think he has that in him. It was amazing.
No, yeah. They mentioned it around like the 60th minute, and he just shot one at the opposite corner flag. And he was like, I'm just going to try and get a throw in as close to the fucking thing as I can. And he got about 5 yards away from it. It was pretty awesome.
Because I liked him when in the Pochettino Koeman era Southampton, when they finished 7th, he was awesome. And then he sort of fell off when people were like, oh, you got to play out from the back. He's like, I'm 6'7". I'm built like a brick shit house. I'm not doing this. But he's back, and I don't know why. Maybe McCarthy was hurt or whatever. But that was one thing I noticed that was pretty funny. Speaking of my prescient brain, Brighton secretly in this 5 games in a week world, they've changed their goalkeeper like I told them to.
Oh, I actually missed that. Who's in net for them now?
Yeah, they have this Spaniard that's been with them since he was 15, Sanchez. So he's come in. They got rid of Matty Ryan because he sucked. Like I said he did.
He had like a good start to last year and then sucked.
Yeah. So, I mean, but they're still fucking up. So maybe it wasn't the goalkeeper. But then I believe we have a Premier League break, but we should probably talk a little FA Cup action. I'm sure
we've
week.
Got the whatchamacallit? Yeah, the 1 week. We've got the Carabao Crappity Cup tomorrow and Wednesday.
My team. I don't.
The FA Cup of the weekend. We'll talk about the FA Cup on Thursday. But we actually glossed over one big game or one big-ish team.
Arsenal. Yeah.
4-0 over West Brom.
In the snow, which was cool.
Mikel Arteta plays the kids and he's getting results. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Emile Smith-Rowe, he's looking really good. You know,
listen,
he's got Lacazette coming off the scores on the score sheet. So.
I mean, you know, they were better than their results. So it's a little bit of, they're not as bad as that bad run, and they're not as good as winning 3 in a row. Like, they beat the fucking Brighton B team 1-0. That team was shitty, right? I mean, the Chelsea result's real. I get it. This result is a tough result to get 4 against West Brom after they had 2 1-1s and a 0-0 against Liverpool and City, but then get humped. You know, it's good for Arsenal. Kieran Tierney is, if I'm Kieran Tierney, I'm calling my agent. I'm like, yo, can I go to someplace good? Because these guys suck. Get me out of here. Because he's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's really
you know, it's funny. It's funny to think of. I think one of the things that's going to be probably tough for Arsenal fans, and I know that they had to deal with it when they got the stadium and they would and Wenger would sell, he sold Clichy, and he sold Nasri, and he sold Adebayor, and they sold Fabregas and all these guys, and Henry in the end, and everyone would just leave. Do guys want to stay at Arsenal? Why? Like, you don't get the sense they're gonna win the fucking league. Like, Arsenal's they're not a big club.
No,
haven't been in the Champions League. They don't have any moments. They don't have any moments.
You also look at like what their team makeup is, right? And like,
I mean, they're in the beginning of a cycle, right? How is it going to look in 3 years? Yeah.
Right. I would say even earlier than that, because you've got a bunch of these kids coming through. You're going to lose Ozil. You're going to lose, I forget, 1 or 2 other big contracts.
Lacazette's pretty old.
Lacazette, right? So like, these guys with name brands and Xhaka with name brands and paychecks to go along with it, that
they're they'll push out. Yeah.
They'll push out, but what happens when that happens is that you get that freedom to be able to bring other players in, because like you said, they're not a big club in the sense that they're not going to be making transactions and transfers like a City or a Liverpool. Like they're not a well-run club either, right? But
not
I think
right now they're not. No,
not right now. But you could flush that out. You can bring in youth. It actually reminds me right now of like Sherwood era Spurs.
That's where they are.
Yeah. So, but all they need is a few of those. They don't need a Harry Kane. They need a few guys to come through and be serviceable. A Ryan Mason, Harry Winks.
I wanted to tell you one of the things I thought about while I was watching Leeds play Tottenham.
Yeah.
I thought about Pochettino Tottenham. That's all I could think about. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah. Remember how everybody loved Spurs for that little that beginning of Pochettino? You're like, what is this? Yeah, who is this team? Everyone loved them.
It was charismatic.
Yeah.
The
I was trying to think of like who is who, like who are the players that matched it. I'm like, oh, Dele Ali would run, and Musa Dembele. I don't even remember early Spurs. There was like Bentaleb and fucking weird dudes because I was watching.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you had the best fullbacks in England. You had Rose and Walker.
They were awesome. Yeah.
Oh, they were great.
And Vertonghen and Alderweireld were already there, so they were incredible.
A lock.
Yeah.
Every game. It was just the two Belgian best friends.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking about as I was watching Leeds. I was like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what Spurs used to play like.
Yeah.
That especially the beginning, that when we were talking about Leicester, I was like, holy shit, that's that. But that's the thing, like, so this is off the whole thing. It's just like there's a big difficulty and argument to be had that football always has, right? It's the light and the darkness. It's the philosophy versus the pragmatism. It's the playing for wins or playing for result, right? Because there's so few events that show how well you played, you can get disconnects from that, right? Mm-hmm. You can be Brighton, own the ball, create 10 scoring chances, Neil Maupay miss them, and lose 1-0 because the guy just kicks it onto some big guy's head and they slam it in after it goes off someone's knees, and lose a lot, right? So there's that constant yin and yang going on in football, and I love it because I don't know if any other sport really has style as one of the conversations. I suppose
basketball has to. Or did it
used to? A little bit. Like people don't like Harden, right? Because he just takes the ball, dribbles it, and plays by himself. Basketball has it a little bit. I know hockey had it. Like people hated fucking New Jersey. They were the worst when they.
That was more of an anti-style. That was Mourinho on steroids, right?
Right.
Like, that was the most park bussying ever. Plus. Like 10, like that was horrible. They basically broke the game. Like they needed to change the rules to be like, hey, you can't fucking do that. Like that's
right. They got rid of the 2-line pass. They've changed the behind the net. They did all sorts of, which is good, right? Like soccer can't do that, right? So I mean, they do have their moments where they got rid of goalkeeper get back passes. They kept changing offside to make it better, and now VAR fucked it up. But yeah, I do think about that in terms of like in the NFL, nobody cares about the style you play. As long as you win, who cares?
Yeah, right. It's nobody critiques any style that's winning, right? Like nobody's like, oh, you're boring. Like a really great defensive team is a really great defensive team. Even who was it? The Bucks when they won the Super Bowl. Baltimore also
Yeah.
when they it was Trent Dilfer is my quarterback. The dude is
don't
already
care.
working for ESPN. He stinks, but he's a quote unquote game manager, right? He doesn't fuck it up. We basically are playing chess, 4 downs at a time. And it works. And the fans love that shit.
And nobody, no one goes, but they didn't win the right way.
Right.
Although, I mean, in basketball, nobody cares unless you win.
I think that
they're not remembered. Teams aren't remembered, right? Like the Suns with Steve Nash, 2004 to probably 2010, are a remembered team. They didn't win for their style, but that's one team. Yeah. All the teams with the best style win. There's no good style that loses. Like you can't.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not criticized, right? There's
you can't be the Knicks and play up and down, run and gun and lose, and people be like, they're playing so well. I just love to watch them.
Right. There's no sucking Leeds' dick while they're getting smashed, right? Like it's if you're not playing the shift in baseball.
Wouldn't it be? But that's the thing that would be amazing, right? What if you did in the NFL do that and just be like, we're going every down. We're just playing differently. We're gonna throw Hail Marys every fucking play. We're not gonna do anything conventional, and people just be like, I have to watch this team. They're insane.
Right. And basically, you become the XFL inside the NFL.
Right, but it's just too conservative, and you would just never do it. Right.
Right, but that's the thing, right? Like,
that is what the NFL is now, basically. Like,
well, sort of, but like you become just the most predictably unpredictable, and like it won't work, right? Because there's just so many different pieces in play. And as soon as it stops working, you know what everybody says? Stop fucking doing that.
Yeah,
you're out of here.
Anyway, so I do wish that we had those style points in more sports, because it lends to more conversation, right? Like United are winning right now. Nobody thinks they're a good team.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, they have really good players who do something amazing once a game, but I don't feel like it's a cohesive unit that puts teams to the sword. They just beat them. Right? Which is weird. Don't you think? It's bizarre.
I would agree, yeah. No,
right?
Absolutely.
Or Tottenham right now, they were going to win the league. It was fine. They start shitting the bed on some of these games, and now it's like, well, what are we going to do? I mean, Mourinho.
Right, you can't they don't deserve to win. Playing like that, I'll forget it. But even in Spurs circles, right? It's like,
oh yeah, there's an argument.
There's an argument, there's a begrudging acceptance. Because, I mean, shit, the last time they won anything, it was the fucking League Cup in 2008. So they're like, guys, it's time. We kind of don't give a shit how it happens. But the argument against is, yeah, but we better fucking win something. Because if we don't, and we had to sit through this shit, this is bullshit, and we don't win, I'd rather lose and have fun. Like, that's the point, right? Like, I think that's the difference, is that winning is just the only thing in the American sports landscape. And ironically, until it's not, when losing is the only thing with tanking. But
God, they had fucking tanking in an NFL game. I never thought I'd see it.
I know.
That's bad.
Right. But in the Premier League, it's the only thing you've got. So you just want to feel good about how your team looked and performed on the day. Not over a balance of time, just like how did they play on the field today? They lost 3-2. I get that, but were the goals shitty? Was it a bad penalty?
Yeah, there's an aesthetic judgment of it.
There is.
Bizarre.
Because, like I said, because they just want to go home feeling good about it.
That's because their lives are miserable.
Right, exactly. Whereas
I hate that I lose.
It still comes back to them only having one thing, where I'm going to watch the Yankees, and if the Yankees lose, I'm going to be annoyed, and I'll turn on the Giants or the Rangers or whatever. Right? I've got 3 or 4 different things I can watch.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't think. So
that's kind of the problem.
Yeah,
it's not a problem.
But it takes up all their airtime though. Like they don't talk about rugby. Nobody's a fucking rugby fan.
And the crazy thing
wasn't even professional until like last week.
Yeah, if it takes up all their fucking airtime, why is there anybody on TV who has an analytical eye for this stuff? Who says,
I have no idea.
Like Danny Higginbotham, by the way,
is like blowing the doors off the show.
Right.
Yeah, he's good.
He's been great. But like, why isn't there more people like that on? I feel like everybody is Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith in England. They're just like,
it's all pundits too, right?
Die.
They don't have
all pundits. It's all.
Well, they basically
why?
they cover the 5 teams, and to get the nerd stuff, you have to go on podcasts, and that's how it is. But that's how it is in every sport. No?
I guess. MLB, yeah. Because even that, it's not mainstream stuff. It's not during the broadcasts or the pre or post game stuff. For the most
I mean,
part.
Brian Kenny kind of changed how you cover baseball. I mean, he brought the
Yes.
nerd stuff in, but and the nerds won, and they fucked up baseball.
Yeah, they did. They did. And I'm not even saying, listen, there is absolutely a threshold where it's from a spectator point of view, like just seeing
The nerd. And
exit
by the way,
velocity.
the nerds are fucking up basketball too.
Oh, I know. The exit velocity on every swing. I'm like, I don't. Oh, do we have historical context, or is this 4 years old? Like, oh, you mean Reggie Jackson never hit a ball 100 miles an hour? Go fuck yourself.
Of course he did.
Enough. Of course he did.
Well, you know what's funny?
that-
But going back to that, I feel like what's great about the Premier League is there's no past. It's literally everything is just like, oh, it's just this season. Players come and go. They disappear. You never hear from them again. They're just gone.
Yeah, right.
Like, they're just like, 3 years ago, my team was completely different. I don't even know where the other guys are. They're just gone. They just poof. They're like, oh, he's in Besiktas. You watch some European game. You're like, hey, that guy used to be on my team.
Yeah, they're in a gulag somewhere in fucking.
But it's literally, they
Moscow.
play for Gulag FC. I mean, that's literally a team name. Right? Like Demba Ba showed up in that Besiktas game. I'm like, that's fucking Demba Ba. That's
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, I know that guy.
Bucky Dent. That's Aaron Boone for
Chelsea.
Liverpool, right? There he is.
Right,
What is
yeah,
he doing there?
Yeah. Right.
And he did it again, delivered to United, right? He fucking basically put them out of the Champions League because no one marked them.
Where have you been? I've been in a hurt locker for the last 6 years.
Yeah, I've been hanging out in fucking Constantinople with cats. It's fucking amazing. I love it here. That's right. That's the thing with soccer. It's so fucking bizarre. You're like, wait a minute. The manager of Brighton was the guy in the Europa League who Arsenal had to play in the snow, and how the fuck did that? Why was he in Sweden? Ostersunds? What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I love that. That's the part that I love. That's why, like, the international part makes me fucking crazy. I love it every single time. Like, I know more about Europe because of teams playing in fucking Ulaanbaatar. I'm like, all right, what is this team? Partizan who? All right.
It has definitely helped with my geography understanding for sure.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that team's, they're just right there. It's only a 2-hour flight.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was in fucking Azerbaijan, the land of fire. All right, I think we went on too far. All right, I'm stopping. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. This was a crap football, crap pundit production. We will return on Mondays and Thursdays for the Premier League season. We will talk about soccer and other things that interest us. Mike is crazy. Laurent is insane. That's why it works.